talkradio.com.
February 2017, 26th Annual UFO Congress, 15th through the 19th. That's the International UFO Congress Convention at ufocongress.com. Check that out. Had a couple of books to plug, and then we'll get to our guests. We got Wham here with us tonight.
Hi.
Howdy ho.
Hi.
Let me see. First, Grim Tales of Terra from Joe Brusha and Ralph Tedesco. It's from Zenescope. Comics, that's ZENESCOPE.com. Grim Tales of Terra, 1 and 2. A lot of hot chicks and mad scientists and zombies. If you like Tales from the Crypt and stuff like that, Grim Tales of Terra, check it out. That's Zenescope.com. One more book here, Feeding Hannibal, a connoisseur's cookbook by Janice Poon, by Titan Books. That's TitanBooks.com. And basically, it's every meal from the Hannibal TV show from the lady who designed it all. So there's some really weird stuff in here. It's pretty bizarro, but I'd eat it. But nonetheless, there's some entree that's named after Pinhead from Hellraiser. It's pretty weird, but a lot of weird stuff in there too that I've never ate in my life. But it's pretty cool. That's Feeding Hannibal, a connoisseur's cookbook. So let me see. That's alrighty. Tonight's guest, Jim Meskimen, L. Ron Hubbard's Battlefield Earth. Battlefield Earth was put on an audio book by GalaxyPress.com, and it's 47 and a half hours, over 150,000 sound effects, a full cast production of more than 65 actors performing 198 characters, a cinematic soundtrack with full orchestral musical compositions, and featuring voice talent from audiobooks, film and games, including Josh Clark, Scott Minville, Jim Meskimen, Phil Proctor, Stefan Rudnicki, Fred Tascascori. Goodness, Georgia put a beating on me with some of these names. But good to have you here, Jim. Great to have you here. How you doing?
Hey, nice to talk to you. Thanks for the invitation.
And so how long has it been since Whose Line Is It Anyway? Because I remember watching you on that back in the day. Is it still on at all?
It's just a couple blinks ago. I think it's about 25 years.
Wow.
Almost 25 years, yeah.
I used to watch
Seems
it.
like yesterday.
I used to watch it, and then when I found out about this, I saw you and saw that. I was like, wow. Click.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've had a varied career. I've done all kinds of stuff. Done a lot of commercials. I've been in 5 Ron Howard films, including Apollo 13, and did a lot of improv in New York City. But I've always been a voiceover guy and an impressionist. And I was on America's Got Talent in 2013 doing impressions. But I got into the audiobook world, and you're talking about Battlefield Earth, which is the #1 audiobook, which was released this year. And that was a very big project. It's the biggest, it's the biggest science fiction audiobook ever done. It's almost 50 hours long.
Definitely. It took a while to get through it, but it was really good.
But did you listen to the whole thing? That's great, man. Well, I'm very flattered.
I sure did. You said 5 Ron Howard films? My goodness.
Yeah.
Is that all of them? Or is it about him?
No. He's quite prolific. Ron, he's 60 years old now. He's been doing films since he was a teenager. I was there in the beginning. He hired. My mother knows Ron because she played his mother on the Happy Days show. That's Marion Ross is my mom.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
So I got a foot in the door early. I met him early, and then he had me work on a behind the scenes kind of on a little 16-millimeter film he was doing with his family. I worked on that one summer, and then I always just kept in touch with him. I always let him know what I was doing. And when I moved to New York and I was an actor, he came to town and was casting stuff, so I got to read for him. And anyway, that started a nice professional relationship then.
I'm always talking about his 2 movies, Cocoon 1 and 2. Those are my go-to movies for my afterlife death philosophy. I think we're glowy light beings when we croak, energy beings. So Cocoon is my philosophy for when someone asks me. I say, have you seen Cocoon 1 and 2? We're like those aliens from the cocoons. But,
yeah, and I think there's probably a lot of truth in that. A lot of truth, especially
in Willow.
Sorry?
Are you still there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I heard a click. No, I was just asking if you were in Willow.
No, I wish I was. No, that was. I didn't start working with Ron until The Paper with Michael Keaton and Glenn Close and Marissa Tomei.
Nice. I just heard there may be a sequel to Willow. That's pretty awesome. So, what got you into L. Ron Hubbard Battlefield Earth? How did that come around?
Well, I had, I'm an audio guy, and I love fiction, and I love audiobook fiction and good stories, basically. And I got hired by the publishers Galaxy Press to direct all of Hubbard's early work. He wrote extensively in the 1930s and 1940s under various pen names and his own name. But he wrote, a lot of people, they just think he wrote science fiction, which he did, and he was one of the grand masters of the genre. But he also wrote westerns, a lot of them. He wrote a lot of adventure stories like sea adventure, air adventure, these kind of interesting Foreign Legion stories, as well as fantasy, like Puron fantasy, or Arabian Nights type fantasy and others, and a mystery, cop novels and things like that. So he was very prolific. So they wanted to do like really great modern retellings and reproductions of these audiobooks, of these stories. So me and 6 or 7 actors would go into the studio and we would bring this thing to life like an old radio show, only with actors who are terrific, voice actors from animation and television and movies. And they would add beautiful sound effects and music. And so when you listen to it, it's really like theater of the mind. So we did like about, 500 hours of those. And then they said, well, now we also got this one that he wrote in 1983, Battlefield Earth. It's almost 1,000 pages long. And by that time, we were up to speed. And we said, okay, let's do it. And it was a great experience. Battlefield Earth is an award-winning science fiction novel, and it's one of my favorite books. I've read it many times because it's just gripping, and it's one of those books that you pick it up, and if you're incautious enough to read a few pages of it, it just won't let you go. It just tears along. Every chapter is a cliffhanger, and you got to know what happens next. And it's worse than Breaking Bad.
Definitely. I noticed my buddy Jim Mars you got a blurb from Jim Mars. The audiobook blew me away. It's a movie for the mind. Jim Mars, New York Times best-selling author of Alien Agenda.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. There's a lot of fans of the book. It's a really well-written book. It's recognized all over the world as being a real masterpiece. So we had to do a totally different treatment on the production, though, because we couldn't. There's so many characters. There's, I don't know, you had the stats there, 167 characters or something, 180 characters, and we obviously, couldn't get that many people in the studio one time for months and months. So I directed each actor, and sometimes actors would play various roles. We'd have people come in and play 4 or 5 roles or 6 roles, and I would direct them one-on-one, and then we would piece it all together, and then add sound effects and music, and really went overboard. I mean, we tried to make this the greatest audiobook listening experience in history. And I think it did really well.
Pretty impressive, the sound effects and the orchestration, and then just the detail to the, the aliens and the civilizations, and I'm like, wow, this is some complex. He really drew, it was like you're almost there on some level.
No, the story expands tremendously. It starts off and it's very, very down to earth. I mean, it's actually a very grim tale, and there's a lot of jeopardy involved because it starts off in the year of approximately 3000, and mankind has been almost extinguished from the earth by an alien race that came, took over, gassed the planet, and then began to mine it of all its natural resources. And there's just little pockets of humanity located, in Denver, and some in Scotland, and some in Africa, but there's really just, hundreds of people. And it's a story about how one man, one of these Earth people, decides to turn it around and reclaim the planet. And he does it in a very complicated way, but he's a very clever person, and Hubbard has crafted a character that's really, really memorable in Johnny. And we got Scott Menville, who you mentioned is in the cast. He played Johnny, who's the lead. And Scott Menville is well known to people who watch shows like Teen Titan and others. He's been doing lots of voiceovers for years and years. He's a terrific actor, and so he really brought that character to life. It's a great story.
And Johnny is Johnny Good Boy Tyler. He's the main hero.
Yeah, he's the main guy. Yeah, he defeats the alien race called the Cyclos, and they're these huge kind of purple, nasty. They're inhuman. They're quite antisocial and but very intelligent in their way, and they're just just intent on mining and robbing the planet, and they get to work on it. And anyway, the story just expands and expands, and it eventually takes on a lot of alien races that all have a stake in this little planet Earth. And it's a very intelligent story. It's not just about explosions and fighting. It's about politics. It's about intrigue, and it's a spy story. It's an adventure story. And it's all rooted in science and science fiction. There's no fantasy in it, and Hubbard makes a big point about that. It's pure science fiction and based on things that could happen. And it's a very intelligent novel.
So what's your take on the Cyclos? Is there a main villain? I can't remember a name of any of them.
Yeah, there is. There's a main villain called Turl. He's one of the greatest villains I think ever drawn. He's extremely brilliant, but he's completely psychotic at the same time, and he's just bent on, amassing wealth for himself and status back on the home planet. And so he has this very, very complex plan that he's hatching that involves destroying humanity, the humanity that's left, getting a bunch of gold, and just doing in anybody that stands in his way. And it's a very well-drawn character, and it's played beautifully by a guy named Charlie Davis, who had a wonderful voice. And then we treated these voices in a certain way to kind of deepen them down and electronically to make them sound larger and more formidable. And we also had to create all these sound effects for all these crazy things like ships and tools and machines and technology that doesn't exist. And we had to make it sound very plausible. So our sound effects department worked very, very hard on all that.
I saw your Vanity Fair Nano impersonations, and that was excellent. Loved it. You nailed those. You have a gift,
Thank
no
you.
doubt about it. When you do that,
yeah, thanks. Yeah, I do a lot of impressions.
So how did you start? Do you practice to do them, or is it just something like a channeling, or what's the process for that? It's pretty amazing.
No, not a channeling, since most of those people are still alive. Thank God.
Yeah.
No, it's a fun thing to do. I mean, I've always played around with my voice. I like when I go to see Robert De Niro in a movie. I come out and I feel like, I think I know sort of what he would sound like and stuff like that. And Woody Allen, you see Woody Allen film, suddenly you do. So I would just imitate these people for my friends and for my own fun. And it's, I'm not a musician. I don't play an instrument, but I kind of play my voice in the same way. I noodle around with it. And then I discovered I could make a good living at it. And in New York, I did a lot of stuff and for commercials and things. And in L.A., like I said, you saw me on Whose Line Is It Anyway? And then I did a very famous piece of Internet animation called This Land that came out from Jib Jab during the election cycle with George W. Bush and John Kerry. I did all those voices, singing George Bush. This land is your land. This land is my land. I'm a Texas tiger. You're a liberal wiener. So I did all those.
Only impression I can do is Jack Nicholson, and I need whiskey.
Yeah. It's not fair if you have to use supplements. Yeah.
It doesn't come naturally. Well, sometimes it depends.
Oh well.
So how many different characters did you do in this exactly?
In Battlefield Earth, I didn't do many voices in it. I did about 5 because little parts. I had my hands full with the directing and there's some walk-on characters, some guest stars, and then there's one or two characters that are a little more major. But I didn't want to. We hired some really terrific voiceover people. We didn't need me too much for this thing, and it was really fun to direct other actors. It's my one of my pleasures. I like it a lot. I love actors, and I've grown up around them. And my family, there's a lot of actors in my family, and it was really a kick. It was really a kick. And I think when people go to audible.com or go to barnesandnoble.com and look up Battlefield Earth and listen to a sample, they'll see that it's quite a production.
I got the little card. He sent me one of those little cards with the little chip, and at first I was like,
yeah, the little thumb drive. Yeah, isn't that cool?
I don't even know if my computer has this. It did. Finally, I found it.
Yeah.
Pretty cool though. That's Frank Frazetta art, isn't it? On that artwork.
Yeah, the original art is by the great Frank Frazetta, who did it back in the '80s on L. Ron Hubbard's request. So that's a beautiful piece of art, and it's on the cover of the book, which has also been released in paperback again, and on the CDs, the CD case. Yeah, that's a great design. And
GalaxyPress.com is the company. Have you done any other audiobooks with them, or is this your first?
Yeah, no, I did all the Hubbard books that I talked about, the early ones, the pulps, what we call the Golden Age stories, all those westerns, all those adventure stories. Those are all available on CD and online, too, for download. Those are also at Audible and also goldenagestories.com. They're very easy to find. If you look up my name on audible.com, you'll find all that stuff as well. Jim Meskinum.
All right, Wham?
Yeah, I mean, I'm mostly fascinated by what you've described so far of the production process itself, because this is something that's different than film. You described it kind of like the old radio shows. So this is like different from film and different from regular theater. So what does it? Now this was a straight reading, right, of the text? Because I haven't.
Oh yeah, no, we acted the hell out of it, but yeah, no, it's word for word. In fact, we went through a long quality control period to make sure we got every word right, and we took great pains to have the actual manuscript there. And it's like a movie production, everything except the camera. So it's interesting. It's like what we created provides enough information for the listener to get the whole show, but instead of having something pop up on your laptop or your TV screen or your phone, the pictures all pop up in your mind.
Well, see, I think that just sounds remarkable to me, because it makes, a lot of audiobooks are just straight reading. They're just, somebody
right.
just has the text, and they, and some texts lend themselves to that. But
right.
you just have someone reading, and depending on whether they're good or not, you sort of have to deal with, whatever that is. But this,
right.
but it sounds to me like this is potentially an entirely different way, or maybe a renewal of a way of listening to these kinds of stories. So the other things that you did for Galaxy, are they done in a similar fashion? Maybe
yes. That's where we kind of learned we kind of got warmed up on those shorter stories, and we presented them just as if they'd be a radio drama, and you really put you in the action, So even the narrator is performing it, not just reading it.
Right.
What we're trying to do is transmit the experience, just like the author is. The author writes a scene, and he doesn't want you aloof from the scene, kind of observing it. He wants you in it. He wants you to look at certain things, to feel a certain way. And so what we basically did is try to help the author achieve that. That's all.
Right. You're essentially, though, taking text and you're making both an oral and oral experience.
Oral and oral, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it sounds remarkable to me, because I think that especially fantasy and science fiction, that depends so much on detail, because they're trying to present very, very different worlds than the ones that we're familiar with. So, that really rely on that detail. That if that was done correctly, that would really provide a remarkable experience.
Well, the reviews have been great, and they've been selling very well, and just the fans have really enjoyed these Golden Age stories. Again, you can go to goldenagestories.com, or you can go to Audible and listen to samples, and you'll get an idea right away. Wow, this is not like a normal audiobook. I can hear the horses, I can hear the gunfire, and I can hear the breathing of the characters. You really feel like you're in the scene. So
but in using the sound effects, it isn't just using the sound effects, it's then using them in certain ways to create depth.
That's right.
And so
there's a whole part of filmmaking and storytelling on audio, which is mixing, and you probably know about it from your world. There's like making a sound closer, or what side is it on, or is it muffled, or how far away is that? All those things help to tell the story. Is the guy just walking in the room, or is he walking in the room down the hall? Is the ocean crashing against the side of the ship, or is it, are we outside and getting wet? All those things have to be done, not just with the effects, but the way the effects are treated. Right.
And also I'm assuming that it's done in such a way, I guess the equivalent, I'm still kind of old-fashioned about this, the equivalent would be sort of like stereo, so that like if someone is walking, like if you're listening to this in your headphone, it may sound like someone's walking up to you. Maybe the sound gets louder or something. I mean,
some of Hubbard's military stories, you hear the bullets whizzing over your shoulder. It's pretty cool. It's really three-dimensional.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out, because that sounds like something that would really absorb me. So that's very interesting. What was your favorite part about all that? About doing that?
It was I think just working with the actors. I got to work with some terrific actors. Phil Proctor, who's a member of the Firesign Theater, which is America's oldest comedy troupe, and he's great and brilliant, and he would always bring something just so amazing. And he does accents, and he brought so much richness to all the characters. There's another actor named Corey Burton, who's probably not very well known, but you've heard him on Disney projects and other projects for decades. And working with these guys was just, it was a treat. It was a vacation. It wasn't like work at all. It was like suddenly being handed the keys to a magnificent automobile, because I got to help them create and craft the characters. And, I kind of got to put my print on it, but they were so good that they would always make wonderful suggestions. And in the end of the day, we really told the stories in a beautiful way that I think audiences will be very thrilled by.
Yeah. Are you there, Jeffrey?
Well, like I said, you can hear
Oh, yeah.
you can hear samples, lots of samples online. You can hear.
Okay, I will check that out.
We'll make it very plain.
In fact, right after this show, I'll listen to some because
at first Wham was like, I saw the movie and I walked out. And I was like, no, this is good. I didn't hate that movie, but
yeah,
I
the
need to watch
movie was terrible.
She originally walked out of that movie.
Yeah. Well, I think our culture we develop things over time, and isn't it interesting that the Marvel empire, which now is so dominant, originally started off as these crappy, cheap comic books, and then they were some crappy, cheap movies, back in the 60s even, and and then they graduated, and even now we look with disdain at some of the Batman movies and so forth from the 80s. They're like, oh, look how crappy that is. And now these movies today. But that's the kind of sequence that it has to take. You develop a story, you develop technology to tell a story, and you keep building your audience for certain stories and certain characters. So, I think we have to forgive the earlier attempts to bring some of these tales to life because, they're on a path. What can you say? At the time, it was the best we could do.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I just said that to Jeffrey. It wasn't necessarily impugning the story or anything. It was just,
Of course.
because there are a lot of my favorite stories, especially fantasy and science fiction stories, that have never really made their way to movies very well. Movies have to be done differently. You can't, if you have a 1,000-page book like Battlefield Earth or even like Lord of the Rings, or whatever, the movie is not you can't just translate that to film and have it be exactly the same or even work because that whole visual component that you're being given the visuals, so that has to be done differently. But what you're describing is more like, well, to me, it's almost more like what storytelling used to be about, in a way, and it allows the listener to supply a lot of those necessary connections, so you can actually go through the whole text. You can mine the text in a way that you can't really, or present the text actually in a way that it can't be presented in a film. So I think that, when I realized how long Battlefield Earth was, I was like, well, no wonder they couldn't make it into a film.
No, that was the principal error.
160 characters, or more. Geez,
Yeah. That's really well expressed, I think.
I was going to say, when I first saw the audio book, I was like, well, that's a lot, man. I don't know how I'm going to get through that, but I did. That's a whole lot.
Yeah, it's great for, when people driving, they have to drive a lot or take trips or something like that. That's what I did. I listened to it again when it came out again. I listened to it in my car over a period of weeks, and it was really entertaining and took my mind off of things and really very transporting. It's a good thing you can drive and listen at the same time.
Yeah.
Definitely. But with Marvel now, they've come, like you said, a long way with the Netflix stuff. They're nailing it with that. I'm loving all that. All the Netflix shows, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage. They're just nailing it to the wall. I didn't know he did Westerns. I love Westerns. They not corny ones, but pretty like Clint Eastwood kind of stuff. So I'm going to have to check those out.
Oh, you'll like him. Well, Hubbard grew up in Montana, so it wasn't like he was sitting in New York and imagining what a lariat was. He actually lived it. He rode horses and lived on a ranch, and really, he speaks from experience. So his stories are very authentic, and the language is good. And I like the Westerns too. My dad was from Big Spring, Texas, and so I had some conversance through him with that whole Western culture, and so I really admired it. I'll tell you what, it's awful fun to play some of these old characters that come in off a trail and say, you wouldn't believe we got beset by, a couple of fellers out there in the canyon. Luckily, I winged two of them, and then it took off. The other fella fell off his roan, was dragged. He was drugged right through one of them century plants. You know that hurts.
Definitely.
But I mean, Hubbard really wrote a lot of those, and for my money, he's as good as some of Louis L'Amour's great stuff. It's got that kind of ring of authenticity to it.
And what video games have you done? A lot?
Oh, tons, tons. We're on strike right now, but we're going to start up again soon, hopefully. But I've done a lot of the Batman, Arkham Knight, Arkham this, Arkham that, Epic Mickey 1 and 2, and Baldur's Gate, and I don't know. You can look on my IMDb page. I don't play games, so it kind of rolls off me, but I voice them. I like to, if it's in front of a microphone, I've done it.
Baldur's Gate, man, that's some Dungeons and Dragons street cred right there, buddy.
Thank you.
That's a good one. That's a legend.
Yes, I played a character named Edwin Odesseron. I think he was very disdainful and always putting people down. I don't forgive me for not remembering any lines, but I'm preserving my mind for more important things.
Who were you in the Batman games? I actually beat those. Those are some of my favorites.
Oh, cops and stuff, and I don't know, ancillary voices. Hey, look, it's the Bat. Hey, boy, good thing you came along. The Joker was here a little while ago. What do you think he's going to do? Man, Gotham's in bad shape. This kind of thing.
You're the street bugs.
Yeah, mostly I sounded like Robert De Niro because they were Gotham cops. So I figured, they probably sound like this.
De Niro cracked me up recently with his he wants to punch Trump in the face comment. I loved it.
Well, there you go.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
so what about one of my favorites is Christopher Walken. If there's some chance you could do him at some point, please do before you depart tonight. I love me some Walken, no doubt about it.
Before I depart, you make it sound like it's so permanent, Before I depart. The fact is, listen, I admire so much Christopher Walken. He, developed this iconic way of expression that nobody does. Fantastic.
That's definitely fantastic for sure.
You do any impressions? You said you do. You say you do Jack Nicholson, but only if you've had some whiskey.
I haven't done it in a while, and I have to be very careful because I'll do the nasty one, so I'm trying to think of one right now that's not nasty and my brain's freezing.
Yeah, we can't say bad words on the air here.
Never rub another. Here you go. Never rub another man's rhubarb.
Never rub another man's rhubarb. What picture is that from? Refresh my memory.
Batman, Tim Burton.
Oh, Joker. Yes, okay. Where he played the Joker. Yes, of course. What an iconic performance.
Oh, God.
You definitely do a better Jack Nicholson than me.
Well, I've been doing it since I was a teenager. I love Jack Nicholson. And back in the day, Jack Nicholson sounded more like this. He was younger. We all were younger, And then as he got older, he got a little heavier. Now he's quite husky. Now it's kind of down like this. But in the beginning, it was all up in front of his face like this.
I'm concerned for Jack lately. I looked on his IMDb. There's no movies. I've heard some memory kind of situation maybe going on, but I'm kind of concerned.
Well,
I love it. I collect his movies. He's one of my favorite actors, so I was kind of worried about the guy.
Well, you probably got them all. I mean, as I understand it, he's retired, and I think it's great. He can work if he wants to. He has nothing to prove. Pretty much every performance he did was stellar. And I forget what the last film he did was, but I think it was very highly acclaimed. So
Big gig.
I don't know. He seems to have a very good vision of his career and timing and his place in the world. And if he's retired, I think he's probably figured it all out.
Well, yeah.
Is having a nice swell time.
Deserves it.
We wish him well.
I just hope he does one more thing. But if he doesn't, he doesn't. He's got a legacy. He left behind a legacy for sure. I'm still finding weird old Jack Nicholson movies that I haven't seen. Going South, that Western he did.
Oh, yeah?
I think I can't remember. It's called Going South. It's like a comedy Western from like a long time.
No, I'm familiar with it. He directed that film, too.
Oh, okay. There's a few others.
He might have written it as well.
Yeah,
he directed several films. He directed The Two Jakes as well, which was the Chinatown sequel.
Definitely. I'm always finding stuff of his that I've missed. There was some other one recently I found that he directed, too, that was older. I can't remember the name of The Passenger or something about... I'd have to look it up.
He didn't direct The Passenger. He directed a movie called The Trip.
Okay, The Trip.
Yeah, The Passenger was foreign director Michelangelo Antonioni. Not that I know anything about this topic. I've been a big fan of Jack Nicholson since I was about 15 years old, so never met him, but I saw him one time, and a man who's rather short of stature but big in personality.
It says here that his last film was in 2010, and it was How Do You Know? And it starred Paul Rudd and Reese Witherspoon and Owen Wilson.
Didn't see that. How do you know?
I looked it up on his Wikipedia. Well, his filmography.
Here's a weird one that I saw that he was in that I didn't know. I'm still here. Some weird Joaquin Phoenix movie. He's in it. I haven't seen that. It's some Joaquin Phoenix becomes a rapper, and it's like a true story or something.
Oh yeah, he might be a cameo in that. I'm Not Here, I think that's called.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Bucket List, well, I love that. Departed, Something's Got to Give, Anger Management, About Smith, The Pledge, As Good as It Gets. Those were his last. Definitely a legend, no doubt about it. So what are you working on now? You said you were in some kind of rehearsals?
Yeah, I'm putting on tonight. We're in rehearsals tonight for a show tomorrow here in L.A. It's something I wrote that my wife and I are performing, and I've been working on various shows and little projects. I worked on a show called The Mindy Project a couple weeks ago that's going to be on, a really nice little guest spot on there, and I've been writing more. I've been doing my live show. I have a live Jimpressions is what it's called, the Jimpressions show, and I just performed that last weekend here in Los Angeles, and I've taken that around to different places. I was in Australia with that a few years ago. I took that down to Australia, and it was a lot of fun. I kind of worried at first that the Australian audiences wouldn't be as familiar with some of our television and movie stars, but boy, they know them very well. So they've been getting the same movies and TV shows down there, and that was a lot of fun. I love Australia. The people in Sydney and the people in Melbourne and Adelaide are just terrific.
Man, I'm looking at your IMDb. My God, There Will Be Blood, Magnolia, Grinch.
Yeah, a couple of films. Yeah,
man,
a couple of things here and there. Yeah,
you got a rap sheet 1,000,000 miles long.
Well, you got to stay busy. My mom taught me that too. She's luckily she didn't have to do quite as many projects as I've had to do, but because she got on Happy Days, and for 11 years that's all she did pretty much. But you have to make yourself available. You got to do what William Shatner says. You got to figure out a way to say yes, and that's what I've been doing. And
the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Who were you on that show? I don't remember you on that one.
Oh well, actually, people remember that one quite a lot. I got recognized from that quite often. I was Will Smith's Western philosophy teacher in college. He didn't go to college very much, but when he did, I was his Western philosophy teacher who did impressions, actually. I did Jack Nicholson and William Shatner and Vincent Price and I don't know, a few others. And he was like a very inspirational teacher, but then Will got kicked out of the class because he was horsing around, didn't care, didn't do the work. And anyway, I get recognized from that one quite often. That was in 1993 or 94, and I still get recognized by fans of the show that watch it. So it was really pretty cool. And Will Smith was great to work with. What a talented guy.
Someone on IMDb said you look like Sting, and Will Smith made a reference to that in a Fresh Prince episode.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he also called me Skippy.
What was the Shakespeare project you did? That was just like different actors like De Niro and stuff doing Shakespeare or something?
Yeah, there's if you go on to YouTube and you look for Shakespeare in Celebrity Voices, I did a video that went viral in 2011 that was me doing a speech from Richard III in 24 celebrity voices, all one take, just going from voice to voice, from, I don't know, Barack Obama to, I forget them all now, Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro, as you mentioned, and there's 24 of them, and it was very popular. So it actually sort of rocketed me into about 5 years of touring around. So it was very cool. I'm a big believer in YouTube's influence and the ability to really get the word out and get some popularity. Man,
I'm still looking through your IMDb, Destroy All Humans. I just got a hold of that game recently with the little Jack Nicholson alien probing people. Yeah. Spaceballs, the animated series. I didn't even know there was a Spaceballs animated series.
There was, yeah. I worked with Mel Brooks on that, Spaceballs, yeah. Mel Brooks, yeah. I don't know how well it turned out. I didn't actually see it myself, but I know that on the day when we were in there recording with the script, Mel was like reading it for the first time. Like, he was producing it and directing it, but I had the feeling that somebody just handed it to him. And you're like, what is this? We can't say this. Wait, who wrote this?
That sounds just like him, too.
Yeah, but my YouTube channel, Jim Meskimen at YouTube, I've got tons of little videos and a lot of impressions. I even have a series of how-to videos for people who are interested in learning how to do impressions. So maybe that would help you.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. So to do all this acting and voice acting and acting, did you have to go to college to do it, or did you skip that? I went to college and I passed barely by the skin of my teeth, and now I owe them like $70,000 and they want to kill me.
Oh boy!
But I'm just kind of curious. Yeah. Did you have to go through a lot of schooling, or did you just jump in?
Well, what I did was I am also a painting student and an artist. You know, I did cartooning and illustration and painting. So I mainly went to school for that, and then I would just go and audition for plays. And I would get in plays because I could always do accents and play the funny old man, and there was always a little room for me in different productions. So then I didn't have to take any classes, which was fine with me because I felt like I had a big head. I figured I already knew how to do everything, and in some ways that was stupid, but in some ways it saved me a lot of bother because a lot of the acting instruction in college is not so great and sets you up for failure. So I feel like I lucked out. Now I study I study acting much more seriously now than I ever did. I'm actually at the place where I study right now. I'm at the Acting Center in Los Angeles, which is a school that my wife founded. And it's a great place because you can come in and you just drill. You do a lot of performing, and nobody tries to cut you down or tell you what you did was wrong or why you suck, or there's none of this kind of stupid philosophy of breaking the actor into small chunks first and then teaching him something. It's not like boot camp or any of that crap. So it's a great place to learn, and that's most of the acting instruction I've gotten, other than improv. I got a lot of improv training in New York in the 80s, and that was very good, and I liked that a lot, and that helped me a lot.
What about memory? Was that something you had to overcome? Have you always been just able to memorize stuff really, really easily?
Memorizing is hard. I don't know a quick way to do it. My sister, who's also a writer and has done a lot of acting, she's got a photographic memory, but I don't. I have to just Well, like today, I'm rehearsing. I'm trying to grind it in. And, if you go over it enough times, most people, like Anthony Hopkins, the great Anthony Hopkins, we've seen on so many wonderful things, and now is on that Westworld show. And Anthony Hopkins, I read somewhere that Anthony Hopkins will read the script 100 times. And I don't know if he literally reads it 100 times, but he certainly reads it a lot. That's because he can memorize it during that time, I suppose.
I'm loving that Westworld. Every episode's just like amazing. Just leaves you
tripped
out.
It's amazing. That's a great show. Yeah, it's one of my favorite shows. I've only seen 2 of them, but I got to pick a better time to watch them though, because if I watch them late at night, I can't really sleep.
I know, they make you feel weird. You're like, well, who's watching us? If someone's watching,
that's right. They make you feel weird. It's a good.
Supposed to.
Yeah. No, they know what they're doing. That's expensive to do that.
Yeah. Well, but that's also the sign of a really, really successful premise.
Yes.
Michael Crichton, too, of course, did the script for the original Westworld movie, which at first I thought it was a book, and I was looking, and I realized he just did the script. He didn't do a book, just a script. Yeah.
Well, now that's another example of a movie that was okay, and it was exciting at the time, but I think if you went back and look at Westworld now, you'd go, what a corny movie this is.
Garbage. Yeah.
But this show is quite brilliant, the new show. I think Westworld is incredible. I've got a couple of friends that are on it. I'm very jealous.
Oh.
I'm trying to figure out the Man in Black. What's going on with him? That's weird. You're only on the second. It gets more complex.
Yeah, I don't know. I think my theory is that Man in Black is George Noory.
Ah, really? Oh my God, that's hilarious.
I think so. I think it's. I don't know how you feel about every time he comes on. I tell you what, I think about George Noory, and wow. I mean, there's something about that Man in Black, and he seems to know all the answers.
Yeah, that's great. Does George know this?
Who knows? Actually, Ed Harris. I worked with Ed Harris on Apollo 13, another Ron Howard film, and Ed is terrific in that Westworld show.
So, who are some of the people you like to impersonate the best? Who are some of your absolute favorites?
Oh well, I really like George W. Bush. It's always fun. People laugh a lot out of their face, and I appreciate that a lot. I like to do also English players like Colin Firth, for example. It's a lot of fun to do. And he's very tentative and, stumbly, which gives you a lot of time to think of something to say. And I like to do Sir Ian McKellen as well from the Gandalf. A lot of it's wonderful to be able to summon your inner wizard.
Damn right. We've never had anyone do impressions before on the show, so I'm like enthralled with it. You're the first person to do impressions, I think, besides me trying to do Jack Nicholson.
That's right. Well, I think we learned that from what you did to your demonstration earlier that I am the first, because yours doesn't count. I also like to do a fellow countryman of yours. You live in Texas, right? From San Saba, Texas, Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones was a terrific actor. We love him a lot. He's in them Men in Black films. You've seen him.
Oh, yes.
Definitely amazing, for sure. So, have you any future discussion on anything with Galaxy Press in the future, or is this it for a while?
We have all of Hubbard wrote a lot, and we have actually been in production on all of his fiction work. So after Battlefield Earth is released, I expect they're going to roll out some of the other audiobooks that are waiting in the wings and in production. And it's going to be a pretty steady stream, because there's an awful lot there. He wrote for 50 years, and he wasn't slow. Hubbard could bang him out. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So you'll see lots more, and so you got to keep up. I mean, I would say get into those Golden Age stories and get into the 30s and 40s and some of those delicious tales, and Like I said, go to Audible. Listen to samples, see which one you fancy, and there's some great ones.
Yeah, there are a lot of podcasts doing old H.P. Lovecraft stuff, but it's in the format of old radio shows now. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Stories. That's pretty awesome. I love those.
Well, it's marvelous. We can listen to these things with really good fidelity now on our phones. It's amazing.
Definitely. Well, Jim, it's been great having you on. Legendary, epic, or impression for sure. What are some links that you'd like to give out before you depart?
Yeah, look me up on YouTube, folks. Jim Meskimen, Meskimen. Remember, plural. Meskimen, not a man, but a men. And YouTube. I got tons of stuff. Go to audible.com or barnesandnoble.com or wherever you get your audiobooks and look for Battlefield Earth. Order that right away. You can download it. Toot sweet. Sometimes you can get it for really, really inexpensively, too, if not for free when you sign up with Audible. And goldenagestories.com, that's another one. That's where those older novels can be found. And, you can enjoy them in your car. They're just terrific. And you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Jim Ross Meskimen. And I'm on Facebook and everywhere else everybody is. But I've enjoyed talking to you. Thanks a lot for being so hospitable.
Thank you so much. It was great.
We appreciate it.
All right.
A lot. And we'll definitely keep in the loop on future projects. Thanks, man. Take care.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You bet. Adios. Bye.
Have fun. Bye-bye.
All righty. You're listening to United Public Radio, 107.7 FM, New Orleans. Just waiting for JoJo to give the break signal. We still got about 3 minutes or so. But that was pretty amazing with the impressions. Wow.
Oh, yeah. It's not a lot of people are that versatile with that kind of thing. So
it's like a carousel of soul change in there. Sure, it's hard to. It's almost magical in some weird way the way he does that.
Oh yeah, I mean I've always been very impressed when people can do stuff like that. But I'm impressed with actors, voice actors, or just even regular actors generally, because that's just not something that I can do at all. And my life has been so enriched by people that can do that it's always an amazing thing to hear them, to hear someone who can actually articulate some part of that process, because I think some actors they just act, it's what they do is just so natural to them they don't necessarily have to think about it very much. But
definitely, I was looking at his IMDb. My God, it was like freaking infinite.
Yeah,
it was crazy. Just Fresh Prince.
Well, the company is what, Galaxy?
GalaxyPress.com.
GalaxyPress.com. Okay.
All right. Well, I got one thing. Mark Trevino is a listener of the show. He's been recently going through some joblessness situation and car repossessed and power and water cut off. He's got kids and going through a rough time. He's does computer repair services via remote. So if anybody out there needs any kind of computer repair, he can help you out with that. Or if anybody was wanting to help a brother out, he's going through a hard time, I told him to post his little story on the forum, and I'd plug it for him. You can contact him at jonasbluesman@yahoo.com. That's JONASBLUES man@yahoo.com, and get in touch with him if you need some computer repair. So, all right, we're about to go on break, everybody. We'll be back in about 8 minutes. You're listening to United Public Radio, 107.7 FM, New Orleans, and we'll be back for the next hour of the show where we have to talk about stuff without a guest.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I'll see you in a bit.
Hello, you're listening to United Public Radio. I'm Joe Montaldo, host of News on the Flip Side. Check us out every Saturday night, 6 to 9 p.m. Central Time.
You are invited to the Quantum Leap Let Light Unite show every Friday night on United Public Radio Network. from 9 to 10 p.m. Pacific Time, 12 to 1 a.m. Eastern Time, with your spiritual warrior goddess, Kathy Bilski. Kathy will share all the old truths the Illuminati tries to keep secret. Kathy also gives you the opportunity to join in with planetary healing light work that will help us manifest World Enlightenment 2016. So let's get high and fly into new possibilities. So join Kathy every Friday night on UPRN, the Quantum Leap Let Light Unite show. A very powerful happening.
Hello, this is Angela Thomas with a message about living life to the fullest. As a psychic clairvoyant, I often give insights to one's career path, financial situation, or relationship. Whether one is happy or not in their current situation, where he or she is right now is an important part of learning valuable lessons that can lead to fulfilling one's life purpose. If I can offer you insights, feel free to contact me at 636-278-2272, again 636-278-2272, or visit my website, angelathomas.org. I'm considered a psychic, so I provide accurate and detailed psychic readings for individuals as well as groups. Remember, no matter what influences your life at the moment, live life to the fullest. Stay in gratitude, count your blessings, and prepare yourself for more opportunities around the corner. I'm Psychic Angela Thomas, and my website is angelathomas.org.
The UPRN family of shows would like to take a moment to thank our loyal listeners for tuning in to UPRNTalkRadio.com along with 107.7 FM New Orleans. Broadcasting on multiple platforms like Live 365, Ustream, and Shoutcast has made the UPRN the longest-running, highly rated, and best source of quality, unique programming that is not afraid of the status quo in alternative media. This station has a solid course of shows and hosts that refuse to get stuck in a rut or be overrun by a groupthink mentality, because station owner, host, and iCar founder Joe Montaldo knows the value of letting his talented stable of hosts grow uninhibited. In this genre, that's an accomplishment which many in alternative radio are striving for, but are left consistently wanting. This is all made possible because of you, the listener, that tunes in live every night, who can tell the difference that independent thinking makes. The best way to show our appreciation is to thank you and continue to allow our listeners the ability to download the archives of all the shows free of charge on iTunes, Podbean, and SoundCloud. No monthly fees, no cost to download individual shows, and none of the constant hassling for donations. That's the UPRNradio.com difference. So stick around, there's much more to come with new shows on the way. For now, feel free to join your favorite show live in the Pal Talk chat room, easily accessible off UPRNtalkradio.com, and share the experience of listening live with other listeners from around the world. So thanks for listening, and thank you for being a part of the UPRNtalkradio.com family of listeners.
Hi, come check out Christina George's new show, Aliens, UFOs, and Beyond, Thursday night, 8 p.m. See you Thursday, Jeff. Hi, I'm Joe Montaldo, and you're listening to United Public Radio. You want to learn about aliens, extraterrestrials, UFOs, visitations, military abductions? Join Joe Montaldo on Wednesday night, 8 to 10 p.m. for his episodes of UFO Undercover.
This is Michael Angley of Michael Angley Live, Discovery Paranormal, and the Daily Update with Michael Angley. For the best news and commentary, tune in to Michael Angley Live every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. For the best paranormal talk in town, tune in to Discovery Paranormal every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. And check out UPRN, United Public Radio Network, every day for the Daily Update with Michael Angley. All on United Public Radio Network, UPRNTalkRadio.com, 107.7 New Orleans.
Come check out Christina George's new show, Paranormal Connections, only on United Public Radio, Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. See you Monday. Hello, you're listening to United Public Radio. I'm Joe Montaldo, host of News on the Flip Side. Check us out every Saturday night, 6 to 9 p.m. Central Time.
Tune in to UFO Undercover, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Joe Montaldo, and you're listening to United Public Radio. You want to learn about aliens, extraterrestrials, UFOs, visitations, military abductions? Join Joe Montaldo on Wednesday night, 8 to 10 p.m. for his episodes of UFO Undercover.
Hello, this is Angela Thomas with a message about living life to the fullest. As a psychic clairvoyant, I often give insights to one's career path, financial situation, or relationship. Whether one is happy or not in their current situation, where he or she is right now is an important part of learning valuable lessons that can lead to fulfilling one's life purpose. If I can offer you insights, feel free to contact me at 636-278-2272. Again, 636-278-2272, or visit my website, angelathomas.org. I'm considered a psychic, so I provide accurate and detailed psychic readings for individuals as well as groups. Remember, no matter what influences your life at the moment, live life to the fullest. stay in gratitude, count your blessings, and prepare yourself for more opportunities around the corner. I'm Psychic Angela Thomas, and my website is angelathomas.org.
You are invited to the Quantum Leap Let Light Unite show every Friday night on United Public Radio Network from 9 to 10 p.m. Pacific Time, 12 to 1 a.m. Eastern Time, with your spiritual warrior goddess, Kathy Bilski. Kathy will share all the old truths the Illuminati tries to keep secret. Kathy also gives you the opportunity to join in with planetary healing light work that will help us manifest World Enlightenment 2016. So let's get high and fly into new possibilities. So join Kathy every Friday night on UPRN, the Quantum Leap Let Light Unite show. A very powerful happening.
The UPRN family of shows would like to take a moment to thank our loyal listeners for tuning in to UPRNTalkRadio.com along with 107.7 FM New Orleans. Broadcasting on multiple platforms like Live 365, Ustream, and Shoutcast has made the UPRN the longest-running, highly rated, and best source of quality, unique programming that is not afraid of the status quo in alternative media. This station has a solid course of shows and hosts that refuse to get stuck in a rut or be overrun by a groupthink mentality, because station owner, host, and iCar founder Joe Montaldo knows the value of letting his talented stable of hosts grow uninhibited. In this genre, that's an accomplishment which many in alternative radio are striving for, but are left consistently wanting. This is all made possible because of you, the listener, that tunes in live every night, who can tell the difference that independent thinking makes. The best way to show our appreciation is to thank you and continue to allow our listeners the ability to download the archives of all the shows free of charge on iTunes, Podbean, and SoundCloud. No monthly fees, no cost to download individual shows, and none of the constant hassling for donations. That's the UPRNradio.com difference. So stick around, there's much more to come with new shows on the way. For now, feel free to join your favorite show live in the Pal Talk chat room, easily accessible off UPRNtalkradio.com, and share the experience of listening live with other listeners from around the world. So thanks for listening, and thank you for being a part of the UPRNtalkradio.com family of listeners.
Welcome to the Church of Mabus Radio Show. Let me tell you, you're listening to United Public Radio, 107.7 FM New Orleans. That was the first time we've had anybody do impressions on the show. That was pretty amazing. I was enthralled with that, for sure.
Oh, that was nice.
I was like a kid. I want to hear Christopher Walken.
And he did it. He did it for you.
I didn't want to be too annoying, so I was trying to be careful not to be, annoy him with requests. But he did pretty good. He did great. But Jim Mars plugged this. I was surprised. Jim, of course, has been on the show, and I'm trying to set him up for March. He's got some Illuminati book coming out from Visible Ink Press. I'd like to get Jim Mars back on. He's been on once before. I got a couple.
Well, okay then.
The Russians are attacking.
Yeah, or something.
All right, I got a few books to plug here real quick. Eternal Frankenstein by wordhorde.com. It's an anthology of Frankenstein stories from a bunch of different authors from wordhorde.com. And Eternal Frankenstein. And I have a Frankenstein fetish show. I love Frankenstein. Just a bunch of like horror stories about Frankenstein-ish kind of stuff. So check that out at Amazon, Eternal Frankenstein, wordhorde.com. A book from, speaking of Visible Ink Press, they just sent me the Native American Almanac, more than 50,000 years of the cultures and histories of the indigenous peoples, by Yvonne Wacom Dennis, Arlene Hirschelder, and Shannon Rothenberger Flynn. And this is by Visible Ink Press. Explore the experience of America's first people, early encounters, past policies, treaties, traditions. It's basically like the Bible. Well, that may be a bad comparison. It's the Almanac. It's big. It's a big book full of stuff. But it's about 700 pages, 650 pages in this joker. But I'm going to have to see if any of them want to do the show next year. 3 more books from Dover Publications. I'm having to play catch-up here, and because we only have 2 more shows this year. So the 18th will be our last show, and then we're going to take a break and then come back in January 6th. Where's my other schedule? With Peter Levenda. He wrote an H.P. Lovecraft fiction book. So it's going to be Peter Levenda. Let me close this. Where's the schedule at? Real quick. The new schedule. First off, let me plug these books, and then we'll go over the next 2 guests and some of the ones for next year. These books are by Dover Publications. They do a lot of cool books, different kind of unique. Gladiator. It's a fiction book by Philip Wiley, and God, it's originally published 1930, but it's the book that inspired Superman, the creators of Superman. It's about a 1930s superhero book, Gladiator. I'd never heard of it until I saw it on their site. Here's another one, Homefront Horrors, Frights Away from the Front Lines, 1914 to 1918, edited by Jess Nevins. Basically, it's the anxiety and dread of wartime Britain is recaptured in this anthology of horror stories and supernatural fiction dating from 1914 to 1918 during times of war. It's pretty weird. It's got like some ghost night on the front with some Grim Reaper thing. That's pretty interesting. I got to get into that. One more, and then we'll be done with the plug. Grave Predictions, Tales of Mankind's Post-Apocalyptic Dystopian and Disastrous Destiny. A bunch of authors who contributed to this book. It's basically a book that focuses on post-apocalyptic kind of stuff. You got some Stephen King, The End of the Whole Mess, The Pedestrian by Ray Bradbury, Arthur C. Clarke's The Morning After, Greg Bear, Philip K. Dick, Joe R. Lansdale, Kurt Vonnegut Jr., pretty awesome. They have some pretty neat books. That's DoverPublications.com. Done with those plugs. Let me catch my breath. I had a neat thing happen this, I'm not going to say her name, but a girl I knew from high school. When I first came back my senior year after having cancer, this girl, she's kind of like back then, kind of like a punk rockish type girl. She came up and kissed my hand on my first day back, and I didn't know her from Adam, and it was just the kind of, gentleness and compassion my first day back from school of cancer. And in my yearbook, she actually wrote something that, I don't know how to take this, really. It's kind of weird. I'll read it. She drew a picture of a vampire, and it says, "Jeff, you're the scariest guy I've ever met in my life, so I'm planning on finding some body parts and making you your future wife here. Here's the blueprints for the magnificent man-made woman. I wish you all the best of luck in life, and I hope maybe one day you can let God into your life somehow."
Wow.
But anyway.
That's complicated for high school.
That was 1993, buddy.
Yeah.
There's one in here that says, "Jeffrey, I bet you're, you're going to grow up to be a cult leader or something like that. Wait, here's another one. Even though you've got the devil in you, I guess you're all right person. Be cool.
No.
There's a bunch of, like, some of this stuff's insulting. But no, they're being nice. They were friends, but I was weird. I was really pale in the heavy metal. I just come back from chemo, which made me more pale. And this girl, like, kissed my hand and was nice to me when other kids were going around saying I had AIDS when I just went through chemo. Isn't that a hell of a thing to come back to school from being cured from cancer and kids are spreading around you got AIDS? Yeah. That's some of the cruelty I had to deal with.
Yeah, high school is just, it can really suck.
Nightmare. And then I come home and my dad was an asshat, so he beat me up for getting beat up. Anywho, we came in touch with each other on Facebook recently, and it was pretty cool. But she's in Georgia now, but we're staying in touch. It was pretty cool. But she popped up today, and I was wondering where she was. Let me see. Guests. Oh yeah, next two guests. Wait, where's 2016? I'm trying to find 2000. What did I do with it? Trying to find the schedule. I should have just opened the site. Here it is. Next week is Powers of the Mind. We're going to be talking about Patrick Andrews. He wrote a book. Where is it? Right here. It's about the mind. The Owner's Manual for the Mind. It's by Ozark Mountain. The most important instruction manual your mind will ever know. Concentration, meditation, communication with your higher self, higher power, visualization, creating what you desire in life, dream interpretation, developing and using your intuition, developing fulfilling relationships in your life, mental, emotional, physical healing, understanding your past lives using the universal laws. That's next week's guest. And then November 18th is Bill Shelley. Are you sitting in on that one, Wham? Do you know yet?
I don't know for sure. I will let you know in the next week.
Yeah, just let me know. Whatever you want to do.
Okay.
I just thought maybe you want to because of Autobinder. And
that's the reason why, because it would be because of Autobinder. So I have to check to see if anything else is being scheduled for me at that time. So
that's cool. Whatever you want to do. And let me see. That's Bill Shelley, Autobinder, the life and work of a comic book and science fiction visionary. And Andy, New Saucer and Press, just recently put out a bunch of Autobinder.
Yeah.
So I've just recently come across Autobinder from this book. I'd heard of him, but I didn't know every detail of his life. But he's
an interesting guy. He's really
Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and weird ancient aliens. See, hey, sounds good to me. Sign me up. But yeah, fascinating cat there, Mr. Autobinder. Okay, next year's guest started scheduling. I'll just do the first month. Peter Levenda, his new book, his H.P. Lovecraft new fiction book. What is the name of that? Hold on.
So it's fiction that he's written?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Peter Levenda, I think it's just called Lovecraft Fiction New Book. Let me just find the name of it here. I'm trying to get it right. I know I've read the title before, I just can't remember. Oh, The Lovecraft Code by Peter Levenda. Let's see what it says on the description at Barnes & Noble. It's fiction. For some reason my computer's going slow. So it's Russians.
Well, I know that Levenda has talked several times about, because he's mentioned this in several interviews that I've listened to him online, where he's talked about how he's written these novels that he hasn't yet been able to publish. So maybe he's been able to publish some fiction now. Do you know who published it?
Hold on. I know Red Weiser's involved in promo. Let me Wait, it says Nicholas Hayes Incorporated, but I guess Red Weiser is doing the publicity because that's who I know them as. But on here it says Nicholas Hayes. So that'll be out. Wow, this says December 1st. I thought it was January, so I guess it's coming out early. Drawing on decades of experience, author and historian Peter Levenda turns to the novel as the best and perhaps only way to tell a story that has to be told. The hidden within the tales of America's most iconic Gothic horror, H.P. Lovecraft runs a vein of actual terror. Gregory Angell, the present-day descendant of George Angell and Lovecraft's Call, drawing on decades of experience, author and historian Peter Levenda turns to the novel as the best and perhaps only way to tell a story that has to be told. That hidden within the tales of America's most iconic writer of Gothic horror, Lovecraft runs a vein of actual terror. Am I reading the same thing I just read?
Yeah, you're reading the same thing over and over again. sort of like deja vu there.
Gregory Angell from Lovecraft's Call of Cthulhu is summoned. Here we go. Summoned by a nameless covert agency of the U.S. government to retrieve a sacred book from the grasp of an Islamic terror network operating out of northern Iraq in the land of Yazidi. Practitioners of a monastery religion with mystical traditions, the Yazidi are all that's left of an ancient sect that possessed the key to the origins of the human race and was in conflict with another more ancient civilization from beyond the stars, held by author Christopher Farnsworth as a more intelligent Da Vinci Code, and Whitley Strieber, riveted work of fiction. This book will thrill Lovecraft aficionados and readers of reality-based thrillers and conspiracies, kind of like a Lovecraft Da Vinci Code. Wow.
Oh, that'd be kind of cool.
Sounds good.
I have to
check it out for sure.
It out.
And let me see. Coming up after that is Robert Damon Schneck.
Yep.
Bye-Bye Man.
Historian of the Strange.
Yep, the President's Vampire. What was the other one he just did? Oh, Mrs. Bakeman or Wakeman and the Antichrist.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like a rehash from President's Vampire.
Well, yeah, it's a
all right, and then Wham's going to be doing the first 4 shows of the year, and then Jay will be doing, I got you for the 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th.
Okay.
I just thought you were suited for these guests, and plus you kind of help with some of them, so that's...
Oh, and Paul Eno is going to be in there, right, too.
And that's another reason why, because he's the 4th. I wasn't sure how to do it when he's the 4th, but he's the
right.
4th interview of the month, and I usually do 3, so that would have gave him away. So I just said that you can do the first 4. That'll work.
Great.
And then Jay comes in February 3rd, 10th, and 17th. Then you'll come back on February 24th for Stanley Krippner on Rolling Thunder, the Medicine Native dude. But yeah, January 20th, Graham Phillips, King Arthur, straight out of Britain, King Arthur. Arthurian stuff. Reschedule him because I had to change something a while back, so hopefully that works out. He's added on Joe's Skype, so he should be good to go. January 27th, Paul Eno and Ben Eno. You want to tell us about that one?
Well, this is their. They'll be talking about their new book, which is actually coming out here shortly. It was originally scheduled to come out in January, but apparently Schiffer, it's a Schiffer book. Schiffer has decided to fast track it for Christmas, so it should be out in the next week or 2. He's just gotten his guest copies, and it's called Beyond the Paranormal, or what is it? Beyond? It's Behind the Paranormal, and it's actually a collection of some of their best shows that they've had on. They do a radio show out of Rhode Island every Sunday at noon, and it's a short show. It's only about an hour long, but they get really excellent guests on there, including me, who they interviewed last week. And they get into some really different ways of talking about the paranormal. Paul has earned a reputation for both doing very, very good and thorough long-term studies of what places, not locations where there are clusters of paranormal events being experienced, kind of like Skinwalker's Ranch, sorts of things, except that they specialize in finding and investigating. There are many places that are kind of like Skinwalker's Ranch, that where there are clusters of paranormal events that are occurring that people have experienced, and they're located on a property or in part of a township or something like that, and people will experience poltergeists and different types of hauntings and time displacements and even some UFO stuff, and even will report occasional Bigfoots. And so the book includes transcripts from some of their most intelligent guests that they've had on, as well as information about some of these locations in Connecticut and around in New England that they've studied, that they call them flap areas. They were, John Keel more properly called them window areas, but they're places where lots of different events cluster, like the Bridgewater Triangle place over. Remember that Hockomock Swamp guy that we interviewed some years ago? Yeah, and the Hockomock Swamp is located in the Bridgewater Triangle, and that's one area which is just like south and west of Boston, and that's one area that they have actually done some investigation in. So he's just a very articulate, interesting man who has some really interesting ideas about what's going on with the paranormal and how all these different paranormal experiences are actually part of one larger set of realities. So he's fun. He and Ben are fun. I got to I was able to organize an event for him. I guess it's been about 3 weeks ago now, here in Red Hook, New York, not too far from where I live, and he and I and Ben went out and afterwards into a diner and sat there for like 2 hours until like after midnight, just talking. It was great, So, very interesting man, and I think that he'll enjoy the opportunity to talk for almost a full 2 hours, because usually he's limited, to this shorter format, and he can certainly talk your ear off. So.
Well, they're supposed to be sending us the review copy, so I've already.
Yeah, it should be coming soon.
I also just wrote while you were talking to try to score you Peter Lavinda, but no promises. You never know. I mean, I tried. I sent her an email. We'll see what happens. You just don't know. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard for me to get a book.
Well, no, I don't usually depend on that. So,
Well,
and
hopefully I'll let you know what she says. I just sent her.
Oh yeah, that's fine. That's fine. And also just to plug something again of my own. I believe, and I hope he's not going to kill me if I say this, but I think that Andy Colvin is going to publish something that I've written. He's still I think trying to fit it in to the series of Valiant Thor things that he's been publishing lately. But I think he's going to fold it into that series, and so I will let you know. I'll get some kind of special name for it. You know what I mean? For me, as like one of the progeny of Thor, I guess, or something like that.
Nice. Well, welcome to the New Saucerian family.
Oh yes. Well, and this is actually a nonfiction book that I put together, and I to be honest, I really didn't have any other place to send it because it's kind of odd. It's kind of off the wall, and so I just sent it by Andy, and I said, well, does this look like something that you might be able to use? And he said he thought he might be able to. So I think he's still trying to figure it out, but I'll let you know.
How many pages was it?
Well, in single space, it's over 100. So, when it's printed out, when it's formatted, it'll probably be a little over 200. So,
nice.
it's about the normal size of one of his books.
Yeah. It's just amazing what all the stuff that he's put out. I mean, I can't even keep up with it anymore. It's crazy.
I know.
He's like a printing press now with that stuff, but it's amazing that 15 years ago I was like, I'm going to write a book, and then I do all these written interviews, and I don't even realize I'm writing a book by doing that, and next thing you know, I have 13 things on my page, and people think I'm like a famous writer. Mini-me famous, maybe, but I wouldn't say he's being famous or anything.
Well, one of the things though that those collections have been useful for, and I think that this is sort of where he has found his niche, is that when I went back and I've looked at like the collections of your stuff that he put together, and then also the John Keel stuff that he's put together, some of that stuff is really good. Like there's this one interview that you did with Eugenia Macer, Story Macer, and that is, her stuff is actually really good. Whatever that interview was that you did with her, she's like really lucid in that interview, and she says some really important things, and so having that on record I think is really important.
That's one of the big things is just having it on record is a big part of it, like you say with all these people, and then in every intro I'm telling my story in all these books. So I mean that's good too. I'm glad I'm telling my story in the intro in different pieces. It's like a big puzzle, and I try not to repeat myself, which of course I'm notorious for repeating myself all the time. But it's just cool to do. I'm thinking about a solo of all my experiences at some point, but I'm also really love horror. Like I love it. I breathe it. I always have since when I was a kid in high school. I had Jason and Freddy Krueger and Alien and posters on my wall. And I was just talking to my mom about this today. Like she said, I couldn't believe I let you do that. But the funny thing too, I also have Madonna and her big Vogue boobies on my wall.
Her big Vogue.
I'm glad I grew out of that.
Well, she doesn't have big boobies though.
I liked her during her early years. Now I don't know. I don't hate her, but now she kind of annoys me.
Well, yeah.
But her younger years, I liked her.
Yeah.
Just like a prayer for me. Da, 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 da. Hey, someone I thought I'd never like, Lady Gaga. Like I've listened to some of her stuff, and I wouldn't think I'd like it, but the chick's hot. That's the main reason I listen.
well, her late. I've always sort of appreciated her, and so
she's a genius. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Well, but her latest album is good. I highly recommend.
I have that. I saw the video, and I was like, wow. She has no clothes on.
Well, no. Well, if she could get away with it, she wouldn't wear any at all, I don't think.
Yeah, I saw her in American Horror Story, and I enjoyed her in that, especially when she's a vampire. She played a vampire really good.
Yeah, she's a talented person. I mean, I just think that she's a good entertainer. That's just what she is.
Definitely. But I'm waiting for the new Tool album. My God, would you put out the new Tool album?
Yeah, I know. It's been like
crazy. He
forever.
just had a new biography that's coming out. I have it coming. I'm very excited. Let me find the name of it. It's on Amazon, but they are making the new album, but they were caught up in some legal thing for like forever about something and couldn't put out a new album. So they're now putting it out. I don't know when, but they're definitely making it right now. I'm trying to find Maynard, James, Keenan. I like Pussifer, which is, I don't know if you've listened to them. It's one of his side bands that Mila Jovovich sings with him a whole bunch. You know, the chick from Fifth Element.
Yeah.
Pretty good. He just did a big anti-Trump Pussifer video. It was very anti-Trump. Trump with the Godzilla.
Oh, really? I haven't seen it, so.
It's pretty good. The book is called A Perfect Union of Contrary Things by Maynard James Keenan. And it's his biography. It should be pretty weird. Oh, I also have that Neil Gaiman Norse mythology book coming out. I'm curious. He's rewriting Norse mythology.
I've got that pre-ordered, so I'm looking forward to that.
How do you rewrite Norse mythology?
Well,
that's concerning.
You know, actually, it could be done because there's. I think I've told you about this person. There's a woman, a Scandinavian woman named Maria, Kavilhag or something like that, and she has done a lot of scholarly work on the Norse myths, such as they were preserved in the original languages, mostly Icelandic, but also a few other, like Norwegian and Swedish and some German. And she's done a lot of the linguistic work, and one of the things that she talks about in her book, which is called The Seeds of Yggdrasil, is that, and she uses just a few examples. Her work is very sporadic. It's not very, I wouldn't say it's very organized in some ways, you know what I mean? It's not really for it's not like, it's not just for sit-down reading, It's better for like meditation or something like that. But one of the things that she sort of talks a lot about is the fact that when all of that stuff was translated, like in the late 19th and early 20th century, some of it is really kind of racy, and some of it is also really kind of hard to translate. The languages are actually pretty deep and kind of intense. So what people did was they just used. It was almost like they didn't want to admit that the Vikings were deep thinkers. You know what I mean? Because it's this really stereotypical version coming out of Germany, this real stereotypical idea of who these people were. And, of course, the Nazis sort of ran with that. But she uses some really specific examples. And I remember when I read her book or looked through it, I thought to myself, that's the first thing I thought of was somebody needs to take some of these stories and just rewrite them with sort of a more knowledgeable and linguistic sensibility. And I think that what Gaiman did was he did do a lot of research to try to incorporate some of that stuff in. So I'm really interested in knowing what he comes up with.
Why is this friggin' seed of I can't say it.
Yggdrasil.
Why does it cost so much? It's outrageous.
Well, it's huge. It's large. It's self-published. It's actually got a lot of illustrations in it. It's actually got a lot of stuff in it. It's a good book, but it's an import.
Okay, I see it on eBay. It's United Kingdom and Australia and Amazon. I want it. I'll get it eventually. It ain't gonna happen right now.
It's like $60 or something. Or that's.
I'd rather just get it off Amazon because on eBay it seems like people screw you more easy there in a bad way.
Right. But it is, and the other thing that you can do is you can get on YouTube and you can search on her name, and she's got a whole bunch of YouTube videos. A series, in fact, and in fact, the book is based on a lot of her YouTubes. Nice. So that's a way to kind of introduce yourself to her, in a way. So
this thing costs much more than a video game. I'm gonna check it out. It's on my list. Oh yeah, a couple of things I need to talk about. On Halloween, I woke up around 2 a.m. after the 30th, so midnight struck, and then it was officially Halloween. So about 2 or 3 hours after, I had it felt like a night terror, but it wasn't that because I was standing up, and moving around and looking in the mirror and freaking out. And the best way to describe it is, it was like part of me was still in my body, but part of me was out, like a half-empty cup. And I was freaking out. I thought I was going to die. I don't know. And I started seeing, like, what would happen if I died, that I wouldn't probably find my body for a day. Should I call 911? I seen ambulances coming in my head. And I was wondering, am I seeing my own death or am I dying? I'd never experienced anything like it except when in the past when I've had a long time ago, my psychedelic journeys, it felt like that. And I actually began to wonder if someone put LSD on the pizza that we order. And then I found out later from my nephew and brother that they had the pizza. They were fine. So I don't know what the hell happened. Some people say, and I kept having the word psionic warrior go off in my head. I've never thought those words in my entire life. I may have seen them somewhere, but it's not something I've thought about recently. So, I mean, I've had people tell me I was attacked by a demon. I've had people tell me I was attacked by dark wizard psychic warriors. I don't know what the hell happened, but it freaked me out. And I haven't had an experience like that in a long time. And the last time I can remember it is like shrooms back in my 20s or something, because I usually freak out about death. It was just weird to wake up, and I'm still trying to figure out what the hell happened. Trying to be careful and make sure it's not some health issue like my heart and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But it was definitely a sucky Halloween for that to happen. It was okay Halloween, but that definitely made it different on many levels.
You know, I mean, you know, I don't know what the time frame was between that between that event and then the stupid stuff, you know, internet stuff, cyber stuff that came later.
I'd had some stuff going on with UFO updates, which is this group on Facebook who are friends with KGRA and MUFON, and I used to be in a group. I was in their group UFO updates. And Errol, I can't remember his whole name, but he passed away. He was over in Britain, and they made a new one because they couldn't get the administrative controls from the group. So they made another little group for everybody to go to, and then I went to go to it, and they wouldn't let me in. They blocked me. And I asked, and they said it's because I said posh T, which I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but it's a reference to the vagina, very PG-13 word that I said to some debunker guy there. And they said that's why they wouldn't let me in the group. And then they started to post about me, and there's all those KGRA and MUFON people. It's like basically me at a bonfire, and they're having a roast, and I'm the witch, you know, they're about to burn me alive. And what's so hypocritical about it is all these people, the only thing they have on me is that I cuss and I mean to people that I don't like. And, yeah, I could use some work in that department, and I say some things I probably shouldn't, but that's all they got. That's it, that I mean to people. And that's it. I'm not mean to everybody. I'm mean to people that are mean to me. And, yeah, I'm sure I could tone it down a little bit, but sometimes I have trouble with that. But these are the same people that laugh at comedians like George Carlin and all the comedians that cuss and say stuff. But if I do it, I'm filth. I'm terrible. I'm horrible. I called someone a puss toot. Give me a break, which is basically like, never mind. But anyway.
That's a real common thing that you say anyway, I know.
Yeah, but to me that stuff's like watching the Goonies or Monster Squad or, you know, it's PG-13 stupid trash talk. You know, they get so offended about it and up to an uproar. And what's so weird about them is they all support Trump just about. That's what's so bizarro and hypocritical that, you know, annoys me so much about it. But anyway, to the point, they wouldn't let me in that group, and I raised hell, and I took over their other group, and I started posting all this stuff about KGRA and Bigelow receipts and, you know, from that whistleblower, and posting all this stuff about the pedophile, and I took over that group, and I basically trolled the hell out of it, and they couldn't do anything to fix it, to administrate it, because they were locked out because the guy died. So it really pissed them off. So some of that negative energy may have had something to do with that. And then, of course, the whole Bill Fort child predator KGRA thing, a long time ago, me and Ray Hobbs have always hated each other. We hate each other. But he had an ex on a long time ago that told everybody I was poor and lived in a mobile home. I do live in a mobile home. It's actually $720 a month mortgage mobile home with 4 bedrooms on a lake. It's not a crappy mobile home. But they made fun of me and all this stuff. So when I found out from the 16 to 17-year-old, well, she's 18 now, but she was 17, she told me about Bill Fort, who Jamie Havocan does a radio show with, and basically he's a child predator who was convicted of molesting a 13-year-old, raping a 13-year-old back in 2005 or 2006. So I brought it to the public light, which it's kind of one of those things that I did it, and some days I wish I didn't because it kicked the nest up. And, here are these people saying how terrible I am. I'm poor, I live in a mobile home, but they're, hanging out with a child rapist every day. So, anywho, Jamie Havocan made a video and sent it to me threatening to destroy my life and showing all my personal information, emails, and stupid stuff like personal sites I've been to. And the whole time he's on this video looking at it and telling me he's going to destroy my life. And you can tell it's him. You can hear his voice. They don't show his face, but it's just him talking. He's like, if you say my name one more time, I'm going to destroy your life. And then I look at all the info in his old emails and old sites that I don't even belong to anymore. So I'm like, oh, well, have a field day at it, buddy. You got an old Hotmail account that I can't even get into anymore anyway. So anyway, all of it was just for, the child predator thing, and then, of course, them bringing up the making fun of me on air and stuff. I guess part of it is I've dealt with bullies all my life, from high school to my dad to just I attract them. So when these people start bullying on you, you fight back. I just, like Chip says, when I should have hit them with a fly swatter instead of a sledgehammer. I had enough with the fly swatter. I like to pull out the hammer. I take it to an extreme. But anywho, one of them threatened to destroy my life and videoed him saying that he was going to do it, which was completely stupid because if he did it, he's going to go straight to jail because I have him on video confessing that he's going to do it. That'd be like me telling someone I'm going to kill you, but I YouTube myself saying I'm going to kill you tomorrow, and I send it to them. It's just stupid. I don't know what he was thinking, but
pretty crazy.
I sent the video and a nice letter at Chip's request to his mother. I was very polite. I said, your son lives with you. He's about to commit a crime. You should watch this, and I'm, tried to prevent it. So, of course, I'm sure he's going to get more mad about that, but I'll blame Chip. But anyway, that's that story.
Well, I mean, because what it sounded like to you, your experience, is it does sound a little bit like, one of two things, possibly a kind of psychic attack of some type. Or it could have been just something, it could have just been a weird dream. But if it was really unusual and it had sort of an astral projection quality to it, which it sounds like it sort of did.
It did.
I've had experiences like that, and it isn't beyond the realm of possibility to consider that there might have been some kind of attack going on, and those things are actually relatively easy to defend against. You just have to surround yourself with, just think of yourself as the cocoon light person.
That's right.
And if you really, really dig that, it'll make it all go away.
All righty. Well, Joe's summoning us, and we've already gone over a couple of minutes. All right. Everybody, thanks for listening. We'll see you next Friday. Thanks, Wham, and thanks to Jim. Check out GalaxyPress.com. You're listening to United Public Radio 107.7 FM New Orleans. Supernatural Substation's coming up. We'll see you next Friday. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Jeffery Pritchett for Trump.
Michael Angley of Michael Angley Live, Discovery Paranormal, and the Daily Update with Michael Angley. For the best news and commentary, tune in to Michael Angley Live every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. For the best paranormal talk in town, tune in to Discovery Paranormal every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. And check out UPRN, United Public Radio Network, every day for the Daily Update with Michael Angley.
Hey, everybody!
United Public Radio Network, UPRNTalkRadio.com, 107.7 New Orleans.
Hi, come check out Christina George's new show, Aliens, UFOs, and Beyond, Thursday night, 8 p.m. See you Thursday, Jeff.
You are listening to United Public Radio Network, UPRNTalkRadio.com, 107.5 New Orleans.
Hi, I'm Joe Montaldo, and you're listening to United Public Radio.
You are listening to United Public Radio Network, UPRNTalkRadio.com, 107.5 New Orleans. You are listening to United Public Radio Network, UPRNTalkRadio.com, 107.5 New Orleans.
You want to learn about aliens, extraterrestrials, UFOs, visitations, military abductions? Join Joe Montaldo on Wednesday night, 8 to 10 p.m. for his episodes of UFO Undercover. Come check out Christina George's new show, Paranormal Connections, only on United Public Radio, Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. See you Monday.
The UPRN family of shows would like to take a moment to thank our loyal listeners for tuning in to UPRNTalkRadio.com along with 107.7 FM New Orleans, broadcasting on multiple platforms like Live